Welcome to episode 6 of the Last Pack podcast. I'm Matt with my co-host Joel. What is going on?
You know, it's funny. The past week, I had 3 sales not go through on eBay of people putting in offers. I accept the offers and no payment.
Oh, offers, not even auctions, huh?
No, not auctions, just offers. Accepted, and then all of a sudden 4 days pass, and I just cancel it. I don't even mess with it. Good question to you. Do you try to do the thing where you leave the positive but negative feedback thing on people?
No. I actually, all of my seller feedback is automated. Like if I sell something, if I buy something, it's a different story. But I just don't even mess with it. I put them on my block list, which is pretty huge actually, and then I just move on.
Interesting.
Yeah,
the block list. I think that'd be an interesting topic at some point.
Oh man, it's I probably have over 100 names.
What if people correct their ways and then you lost out on a buyer?
Their loss.
Yeah, those premier auctions. They're missing out.
Yep. But no, that's okay. So you've not had such a great week, huh?
No, yeah, I guess on that front, because it was, when you get those sales, you count on that money to come through. One in particular I'm sitting on is a nice Garoppolo I sold on Saturday, and now you're looking at Monday, right? No payment, and what are the odds of that person actually paying?
Yep. Yeah, it's a tough look, but
and I looked at their feedback before. It was, low, but every feedback they had was positive, and a true positive of people saying great transaction, paid for the item.
Well, so then maybe there's some hope.
Yeah.
We'll just slow to the trigger.
And to be clear, I accepted it a day before a game, because I don't like to play that game where you wait for the results before you accept or decline the offer. Because to me, if you're playing that game with a buyer, then you're basically, I don't know, I guess you kind of like showing your hand, or per se, to me, it's kind of like shady because the terms have changed if you accept it afterwards. So I like to accept it. If I'm going to accept their offer, I accept it before the game, or tell them like, hey, place the offer after the game, or let me know if you want it, I'll take it after the game, or something
but as the buyer, they can basically do the same thing by knowing that there's basically no issues, just saying cancel this.
I know, but I'd rather not go through the hassle.
Yeah, I hear you. I don't like to leave people hanging like that either. But I feel like the only time I do that and leave people hanging, not to get off topic too much, is if I list a card and like I just listed it, and say like I get an offer and I'm just like not super comfortable with it, and I like don't even want to counter yet, I'll be like, let me like wake up in the morning, see like, does it have a lot of views and watchers? Do I have multiple offers? Like that's kind of the limits of what I'll do. Usually I respond very quickly.
I think that's very reasonable though, and I think that is the true purpose of the best offer in the time period.
Right.
The way that it's applied there. Like I think the kind of like the let me wait and see if situations change and then make them put the gun to their heads to buy it kind of thing. That's like, I don't know. That's I don't know. I don't need to do that. I'm good.
Yep. Good. Well, changing topics. So this weekend we both were at the Ludex card show once again. We had mentioned that last week, and this is the third Ludex show. This one, my initial impressions, still very strong, good dealers. It did feel less crowded than the previous two. The morning was strong. The morning was pretty strong in the first couple hours in terms of foot traffic, but my observation was that it died off quickly, and really by 1:00 it was pretty cleared out of there, and I was kind of ready to move on. What did you think of the show?
Yeah, I think I wonder if it had something to do with the signers that were there that day. Because the first signer of the show was
Matsui.
Was it Matsui?
I think so.
Yeah, so Matsui. And was it with the Matsui tickets that you got the $20 voucher?
I'm not sure. I don't know. They might have been doing that for multiple signers, but explain that.
I think it was only for one. I think it was only for the first signer of the day.
Okay.
And we can look it up and make sure. But the neat thing was, it's for this show in particular, I kind of mentioned last week that Ludex decided to take the approach of charging dealers a little bit for this show to set up, which has been different from the past. Along with that, they tried something I believe the past signings were free, right? For attendees, I believe either free or very cheap. In this case, for the first signer, I believe of the day, Matsui, they charged $20 for an autograph ticket, but with that, they gave you a voucher of Ludex bucks or whatever it was called, of the same amount for $20, and you could use that with any vendor on the show floor. Um, and I mean, this is good on them because I think they took that money that they were taking from the dealers and in a way kind of like pass it out and allowed people who took those vouchers, right, to give them the opportunity to walk the show floor. I think in the past they thought, okay, if we have people coming for these autograph signings, give them some incentive to walk around the floor. And
Yep.
I think it did its job. I mean, our neighbor next to us got what, like 7 of those vouchers, just selling a bunch of memorabilia and hats and
yeah,
whatever.
and just to make it clear for the audience, so the dealer can receive this voucher, $20 voucher. The dealer then at the end of the show can take it to the folks over at Ludex, and they would give you the money. So it was kind of like a gift certificate for attendees to spend with the dealers, and then Ludex was incentivizing extra buying with the dealers there. So I think that's a cool way to not only support dealers, you make people feel like they're winning because they're getting something for free. And to me, that's actually a better way. It's a more natural way to create more transactions. And I would rather have that than get a free table, even though I didn't get any Ludex bucks. But I think it's
Same here.
a better approach.
Neither of us did, but I loved it. I thought that's innovative, and I think that's an idea that can be adopted by other shows for sure that have signers or anything that they can incentivize.
Yep.
Because especially right now when we're in this period of late summer, starting to get into the fall, football season, things like that with shows on Sundays, it's a great way to get people in, and it still have them kind of look around at cards, even when things feel like kind of shaky at times.
Yeah, I agree. Aside from that, though, how did you do? What did you pick up? We, again, set up next to each other, so we kind of saw what was going on. Although I walked around a lot more this show, probably to Joel's annoyance.
No,
but,
it was all right. No,
but how did you do? How did you feel?
It was funny. During that time you walked around, maybe you're an attraction because during the time you walked around, I felt like things were kind of slow at the table. I mean, maybe people would ask for about a few cards on your side, maybe 1 or 2 on mine. There was one buyer who was looking to combine our cards, actually more than one. And I think that's one thing that if you set up with someone to kind of figure out is what can you do if you're going to do like a partnership on table, like say if people want to start combining like your card and their card, how do you have those conversations to make sure that you both are good at whatever percentage you're going to get out of the deal? And I think Matt took the move of just saying like, okay, we're just going to deal like these are my cards. This is what the price is. And then he'll accept whatever he wants. And ultimately that could work and it's fine.
Especially mine was a low enough dollar and I felt like I was very willing to deal.
Yeah.
That it was creating an additional hurdle that like just didn't need to be there. I had 2 cards that their sum was $90. I offered them at 70. That's how we got the deal done. And it was like, I don't need to be Joel and I figuring out how to like split hairs here because we were bringing in a more expensive card. And it was just like,
oh yeah,
dude, just do the $70 here. Like,
yeah. And I mean, ultimately I think he was willing to do both sides of it anyway.
Yeah.
And it was just a matter if I wanted to take the other percentage for the card he was looking at mine. And I ultimately didn't because it felt like just too close where I felt like I could do better on it. It was a Jokic auto that I had, and I felt like it's a better card than that. And so we hung on to that. And ultimately ended up being traded away.
It ended up in a better home anyway. So
yeah. I mean, it's funny. Buying wise, I was looking more. I think at times I feel what I buy now has become very restrictive, in the sense that I'm really looking for like on-card autograph stuff, or just I find myself in this phase of basically I want things pre 2018 or like 2018 before is like what I generally look at, and because I think I feel like I'm slipping. I feel like my new knowledge is slipping a bit because I haven't kept on top of as many of the new products that have come out, and what you like Cade Cunningham's and the like, and the whole outside of like LaMelo and Anthony Edwards in that class, I haven't been following much of the other guys as far as their values go. So it's tough to. I know I can look up anything, but it's kind of tough to want to branch out. And there's so many parallels and so many inserts.
Yeah,
I'm just having a hard time with some of the newer stuff.
I
Not
think
that there
you're.
wasn't a ton from before, but I think maybe I was more engaged when the other stuff was coming out.
Yeah, I don't think you're missing too much, and I mean, you know the core products, whether it's kind of for the shiny stuff, Prism, Optic, and then for high end stuff, you're generally NT, Flawless, Immaculate. I think you can pretty much ignore everything else unless you really want to get into some set.
Yeah.
But that's just my take.
Yeah, but one thing I like about our partnership we got going on lately is that so I know certain dealers, you have a relationship with certain dealers. In one case, when I did my little tour on the floor, there's a guy that I made a deal with at another show, and he had a bunch of stuff out. And I know that Matt likes to lot things up and buy some bulk. And I asked him like flat out, like, hey, the guy I'm working with over there, he's looking to buy some lots. If you're willing to give a certain amount of room or whatever, he'll come take a look. And so I sent Matt over there, and Matt was able to get something done there.
Yep.
So I mean, there's opportunities there when we can since we kind of have our own little crowd. I mean, eventually they might just kind of meld into one, but I think it kind of helps now as we have those different connections because we help bring other people into our loops that may not have been before.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with that. We are not like we have some things that we are overlapping on as far as what we're looking to buy.
Yeah.
But a lot of times it's pretty different, and I also think the state of the market being as it is, where there's like it's definitely not a market where people are like fighting hand over fist to be able to be the first one to look at somebody trying to sell stuff. Like we're not dying to buy cards, you know what I mean? So it makes it kind of easy, low pressure, where I don't feel like if somebody walks up and I look at them first and I'm gonna like them and you're gonna be mad that you wanted the opportunity to buy them. It's just pretty unlikely right now.
Yeah, that's true. There was this guy that had some amazing stuff walking around. I ended up buying a nice Tatum auto. He actually had one box that was all Jordan autos. I mean,
Yeah.
and they're all Bulls, nice Bulls Jordan autos, on card autos. Amazing stuff. But I just looked at him like, and it was in the most unassuming box.
Yeah.
But I was like, I can't. I wish I could, but I just can't.
Yeah.
Can't swing this.
Maybe not the time.
Yeah, right. But I did pick up a nice Tatum from him, an impeccable rookie auto, and I didn't expect to, but ultimately I think that helped me make a nice deal near the end of the show. So it turned into a quick flip of a guy lotted up like five different cards of mine. We ended up working on a price on the set, including that Tatum. That Tatum ended up being a nice card for him to as a draw for he felt like he had a little room on that Tatum. And it made a deal get done, and it helped me move a few additional cards I didn't expect to move.
Yeah. What else did you pick up? Anything notable?
I mean, it's kind of funny. I was hoping that Tatum would be my notable card, but I guess my only notable card is this from the guy next to me.
Yep, sure did. Joel and I made a trade. We made a trade. I got my quantity bulk liquidity, and he got this pretty cool Fleer Retro LaJainian Tomlinson PMG green numbered to 10.
Mm-hmm. It's funny, we were just talking about all the Metal Universe last week. You had the green sitting out. I thought you had a price pretty well, or at least pretty interestingly enough, so I was willing to make a deal.
Yeah, and I got some quantity out of it, some stuff that I can likely sell pretty easily if I'm fair on price, and that's how we do. I did a similar thing on my side of the table with somebody else as well. Nothing big, but it was that Shea Gilgeous-Alexander silver that I had just picked up through PWCC Weekly. He was really interested in the card. I could tell and he was willing. He didn't really. There was nothing good like 1-to-1 that I wanted to trade him for, but he was willing to give me some extra bulk, and he probably felt like he was getting one over on me because he gave me like a bunch of raw football cards, and I was perfectly happy because the value was even more than what I would have gotten for the Shea as it was, and now I have just more options to list on eBay, and some of those cards look over for bulk grading. So I was happy. But aside from that, I just bought a bunch of big cheap lots. Bought one more expensive lot, I guess. It was like $1,000 worth of cards. Mostly baseball stuff, so like museum collection, some cool relics, some auto jersey relics, some football rookies were in there. I bought another cheap lot for $50, which I felt was a really fair price for more low end stuff. And then another pretty low end lot, mixture of all sports, for about 150. So the name of the game was just I actually was going through a lot of it today, and I was like, holy crap, I have actually a lot of stuff that I need to sort through, figure out what stuff's going to ComC, what's going in my eBay, things I want to maybe look over to grade, and just starting to process that. So always feels good, even if it's cheap stuff, to just get more inventory, throw in the eBay store. And like today I threw a bunch of stuff up there, already some sales on some of the cheap stuff, and it just makes you feel like you're getting activity, which for me is good. Yeah.
As long as they pay. No, one more thing I wanted to say before we wrap up on this was props to the promoters, because not only do they run a tight ship and do these things that we mentioned for the dealers, but even things as simple as they walk around the show handing out waters to people. Like that's what kind of show do you go to where they take care of your deals, make sure everyone's kind of hydrated, give them some water, whatever, walk around, see if you're okay. And even at the end of the show, we were kind of starting to break down to like, hey, at the end of the day, after we're all done, we're going to have a bunch of food out for everyone that's here, all the dealers that are here, or anyone that's left. And I can't think of another show that's done that, or at least that has kind of like that trade night kind of feel to it. At the end, which is great. And I mean, props to them. I think that's just, to me, being a dealer at that particular show, it made me feel like a little bit more special than typical when I'm doing those kind of shows, rather than feeling like your edge is that you get to have a table. And this is like, not only do you get a table, but you get all these like little perks along the way, which is really, really fun and nice. Hopefully it's a direction that many shows start going.
Yeah, they make it feel like being a vendor there, like you're part of their community, and
exactly
they want to like continue to grow it and have you be a part of it and like keep you happy. So I do give them credit for that. Although I will say there's something that a lot of shows are missing that some enterprising entrepreneur needs to figure out. Like, just roll up with like a coffee cart and some pastries at one of these shows, and you just make bank. Like, I just love coffee, and it was like 9 a.m. I'm done with my like 1 cup of coffee that I brought, and I would have paid pretty much any price under $10 for a cup of coffee if it was nearby.
If I could get a protein smoothie, that would be even better.
Yeah, somebody needs to figure this out. So you card market might be down, but there are opportunities adjacent.
They do like their food. We do like our food and drink.
Yep.
So.
Oh yeah. Believe me, the card people like their food. Just go to a show. Anyway, moving on. Some news and industry topics. We have a few of some shorter ones, but things worth discussing. One was news that just broke today, and that is Alt, which is the marketplace and vaulting service. They raised their fixed price selling fees. So one of the things that they've really come out and been proponents of is keeping their fee structure as low as possible and very competitive. And up until now, it's been 2.5%, which is incredible. I just don't know how they were doing that when you just consider payment merchant processing fees, but whatever. I was taking advantage, and there were some, that was a good thing. So today they came out with an email that said that there's going to be a 5% seller fee on everything through the fixed price marketplace, and there's going to be a minimum fee of $10. So you could do some quick math in your head. If you're selling $100 card on there, all of a sudden you're pretty much at eBay. I was pretty disappointed to see this and not totally surprised because they've increased some other fees recently as it relates to outtake fees. But then, literally a couple hours later, they sent another email out that said they're not going to do the $10 minimum as it pertains to anything $100 and under. So I don't know why they had such a quick change of heart. They said it was, immediate feedback, but to me, this is something that like alt I feel like does a lot. It's like they want to make a change and then all of a sudden there's like a quick reversal, and it's almost like they're not thinking through what their larger strategy is. And I guess that's one of the hallmarks too of if you just start a business and you give things to people for free or really cheap, when you inevitably go to make those things more in line to help you make money as a business, it's tough because people like free stuff and they don't like change.
Yeah, but for them to pull that back, instead of pulling it back, there should have been a prepped response on why they need to do this and ensure them that they'll take care of them and that it will be okay, kind of thing. Kind of vibe. But instead of pulling back that quickly, it makes them think exactly what you said. Nothing has been well thought out. How long did it take them to make this decision? What went into that?
And I think, like, I get the sense from them too. It just signals that they are trying to be a place that caters to more high-end folks. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what I can get why they want to be seen that way. They talk a lot about cards in the investment context, and so they're naturally focused more on higher dollar cards. But to me, especially in the market we're in right now, I'd want to be trying to get as much market share as I can in more highly transacted dollar amounts, $50, $100, $200. And I think this just shows that they're not really interested in that business. So interesting to see going forward. I do think with just all of the different marketplace and vaulting options, we're going to see a lot more change over the next year, a lot more competition, which ultimately will be good for the consumer, but it could be confusing in the meantime with all the different fee structures, and it's hard to keep up with. And this is a good preview for what we are going to be talking about at the end of the show. And it is just kind of a brief overview of some of the vaulting services out there, just to kind of talk through it and give our thoughts. Anything else on that, Joel?
No, that's pretty good.
Okay.
I think we can move into some of these product updates.
Yeah, so Topps Chrome, the day we recorded, of course, Topps finally came out and said, you know what? The SPs that we said were in the product were not in the product. So those Julio Rodriguez and Bobby Witt cards weren't packed out as everybody thought because none had showed up. What they did do is say they're going to release special silver packs to any distributor or hobby shops that receive these, or anybody that bought directly through Topps. So if you bought a hobby box, you're going to receive a silver pack, which is going to contain 4 cards. They're going to be randomly inserting these SPs, base cards inserts, and quote other surprises. And supposedly these are actually going to be packed out in the Hobby Light format, which was available on Topps' site for a while. But yeah, they acknowledge it, and they're trying to fix it with these silver packs, which is just causing a bit of a stir and a headache. So I don't know if you have any thoughts about this, Joel, but we talked about it a bit last week.
I feel that, I mean, at least Topps did something, right? Yep. Now they've put the ownership on either the breakers or the distributors to do something with those packs. So, I mean, if someone that you've purchased this product from, you see them all of a sudden putting these packs up for sale, maybe you can choose with your dollars on what you do next.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, like, so you're a hobby shop, you have a physical location, customer came in, he ripped the box, he was disappointed. That's one thing where I feel like, a hobby shop generally has some sort of relationship with the person that comes in regularly. That person can go in and say, hey, are you guys getting the silver packs? If they're a decent person, they're going to say, yeah, I am. I have a record of everybody that bought one, or I remember you buying one. I'll make sure you're hooked up. But it seems like it's going to be the Wild West for like if you bought your boxes from
Yeah,
Blowout, or obviously if you bought them at a show, you're out of
yeah,
luck. And
right.
um, I do think it also is just it makes all of those people, those intermediaries, upset because if I'm a breaker, you're telling me that now I have to figure out all the people that were in this break. I got to figure out some way to compensate them with these packs. Oh, and I have to pay shipping again to ship these cards out to people. Like it's just Topps was, I think, good to address it, and they're trying to compensate people, but they're creating this additional burden that they're just assuming the rest of the supply chain is going to take care of for them.
I don't know. I think I understand you kind of feeling for breakers, but I don't.
Oh,
They're
I'm
all
not.
right.
I'm
Yeah,
not.
I was like,
Yeah,
they're all right.
no, I'm not feeling for breakers. I'm not feeling.
No, yeah, and
Not feeling for
I
them.
also you mentioned like buying at shows, you might be up a creek, and I think that the key part is might be because if you have a relationship with your the person you buy from at shows who generally sells wax, I know some of them are good. Many of them are good people and probably have those for you waiting or at least a couple shows. I hope. Yeah, who knows?
Well, hopefully.
But I would think so. At least some I know I think would probably keep some of those packs aside if people come in.
Yep. But yeah, that saga is over for now. I think Topps has a lot of egg on their face for screwing up that product, and hopefully we don't get more stories like that the rest of the year.
Hey, do you know what? I'm happy they actually did something quickly and they put out a. See, that's actually putting out a communication quickly to resolve an issue, potentially at least, or at least come out with a solution quickly.
Yep.
Um, and it's at least it's not like those Ginter Wood minis that are
Yeah.
lost in oblivion. They did something right now. They did a resolution. It's out there. So
Yep.
props to them at least for that. Even though the solution may not be perfect, but I don't know if there would be a perfect solution for this.
Right. As far as other product releases that we talked about last week, we did talk about that Metal Universe Champions, and we're starting to see more and more singles hit. Some pretty impressive sales, but it seems like one of those products where if you're ripping it at $800 a box, it could be some real famine. But there's some big hits. There's Jordans selling for thousands of dollars. There's a Jordan Green on eBay for kind of a ridiculous price. But overall, what's your take, Ben, now that we're over a week into seeing these singles hit the market?
I do wonder. I think in general, the hobby or people in the hobby, the first reaction is to hate, right? Something new, and I get
Yep.
it because you start skeptical and then let the good kind of show itself over time. There's definitely this product definitely has its downsides. Like they definitely spread themselves across so many sports and non-sports and like does it really? I guess if you're collecting a basketball set, do you want a basketball card from a multi-sport set? I don't know. Like, but in cases of some of the rookies, this will be their first ever precious metal gem, right? And then if you don't like the scrub jerseys or the like, right? Or you have other options in this product. There's other things that don't necessarily have that. So I think there's unique angles of this product. So I mean, I'm keeping an eye on it. I would love to bust it, but I mean, we heard of a couple boxes at the show. Matt was kind of trying to give me a nudge to go find them and rip them. And guess what? I can't. I just can't justify
No.
currently ripping them. I might regret it. Who knows? Maybe they go up in time just because the top end value is there potentially, like or at least with the top end hits, it seems like the value's there. We'll see. I mean, if people hate on this product enough, maybe it'll come down a bit, and I'm more interested if it comes down a bit. But
Yep.
as of now, I mean, I think I don't think I've seen any of it in person yet. Have you? Did we get to see any cards really in person?
I did not. I was actually looking for them at the show.
Yeah, me too.
And I did not. A person that I buy from regularly, a lot of these lots, who does a lot of ripping and then also buys from a lot of people that rip. I specifically asked him if he had any of it, and he said no. And he specifically said, I can't rip that stuff at that price. So
yeah, and I had another friend of mine who did rip a box. His impression was like, who would ever rip that garbage at that price? Mind you, he got creamed. He got completely decimated by his box. Yep. But he's like, it's crap. Don't ever rip it. And I can see that because honestly, if you hit a PMG in your box and it's like, I don't know, who's the worst name? Like you got like the country singer or whatever.
People that I've never heard of.
Yeah. And I'd be like, yeah, Yeah, I don't know. I'm good on
Yep.
ripping this.
Yeah, I have lost one card so far on eBay. Actually, two bidding. One is a Colin Morikawa. It was the retro PMG red, and it went for I think like $400 ish. And I was willing to pay like low threes. So I'll just keep an eye. More copies will show up, and hopefully I'll get one for even cheaper. But thinking about that, that's less than half the price of the box. I would be
Yeah.
happy getting that card. Makes it tough. And then the other one that I missed out on was an Adrian Woj PMG Red, which I literally saw Lameme James making fun of this card, and I had alerts set up. So I was the guy sending out that offer on the first one that showed up on eBay, and I didn't close the deal. Didn't close the deal. So just gonna keep
Yeah.
waiting.
It's funny. Whoever had this product ripped, it seemed like a few of those things were ending while we were at that show on Saturday.
Saturday
And
afternoons, yeah.
so I was kind of, probably at one point I was trying to be engaging with people that would walk up, but there was at one point of the show that I was actively trying to place my last second bid on a Tiger, a PMG, and
Got to get that sniper ready.
yeah, I've never used a sniper tool in my life. It's funny because it's just one of those things where I just don't want to give my information to, even though it's everywhere, right? But so I ended up was talking and someone started to make a deal, and I'm like watching my ticker on my phone, like, oh yeah, having small talk with them, and I'm watching my ticker, and then it gets down to 30 seconds, and ultimately I think it was a couple kids and we couldn't get a deal done. I was like, okay, great,
Yep.
it's all right, and so they wanted to, and I tried to put in my last second bid, and it went probably about 30%. Actually, wait, probably like 50% over what I thought it would go for. Yeah. I mean, you and I kind of talked about, it's probably a range of a few grand, and then at the end of it, it ended up being like 2-3 grand over what we even thought.
Yep.
So I mean, it seems like there's some people going after the Tiger stuff.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
I'm not totally surprised. So we'll see if more of that stuff surfaces or what. But
guess what? Coco Gauff and whoever, all these other tennis players, they're not in any pro uniforms either, or they are as pro as you can get.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Aside from that, I'm just going to hit on one more thing, and it's really more broad, but we did have a big weekend of auctions from PWCC Premier Auction ending Thursday, Alt on Thursday, as well as Golden September Sports Monthly Auction ending Saturday. You and I have done some more detailed recaps in the past, just talking through some of the high sales, some of the low sales, what we think. And I didn't do that this week because, in my opinion, it was just another just smattering of auctions where you see the majority of stuff feels like it continues to slide and decrease. That said, PWCC had some really impressive high-end Jordan exquisite card sales. And I'm seeing some really high-end, like, I hate to use this word because it's so overused now, but Grail Jordans, like actual credentials and stuff. Those are really strong. That stuff feels really strong, really, really high-end, nice-looking vintage, still feels at least stable. But for the most part, a lot of cards just continuing to see that slide, and there's just, too much inventory floating around. So I don't know if there was anything you were eyeing or themes that you saw coming out of these auctions or what, but what do you think?
Well, I mean, the one thing I looked at was the PSG Mbappe's that were coming out of the golden sales. It made me think about our PSG box a little bit, right? So some of those sales, I think definitely wish they could have been stronger. So I don't know what's going on. I guess what's going on is things are just kind of spread too thin right now, is really what it is. And Mbappe's been in the news for some just strife with the team and with him and Neymar. But I mean, the team's still performing, and we'll see. So Matt and I are kind of thinking a bit about what we want to do with our product that we have. But I think because of that, I just had my eye on a few items, a few of those Mbappe's.
Yep. Yeah, I will say I think people are kind of almost tapping out on some of these auctions. Like there's just like it's so overwhelming that I don't feel like people are even on top of it. I know several people that are pretty into this stuff, and they just were like not even aware that Golden was finishing Saturday, and I don't blame them. It's hard to stay on top of this stuff, and then when you see the fact that there's over 2,800 I think lots in
Yeah.
Golden,
Oh no.
it's just you open that and you're like I don't know, unless I'm looking for something specific and
It's
searching, then
overwhelming.
yeah, I can't go through it. But I participated in Golden. I did win more than I thought. It was a little bit of a last second decision to jump in, so um, maybe next week I'll cover some of that.
That's a good one.
I did win a Trevor Lawrence card, so
Oof.
big T-Law guy. Got a Contenders auto PSA 9, so that was
He's up now, I hear. Trevor Lawrence is through the roof.
Man, he's the GOAT.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bought a Trevor Lawrence. I bought some cool 90s football cards. I bought a Tom Brady Silver Prism PSA 10 from 2015. Bought some baseball prospects, Ellie De La Cruz. Yeah, just looked for what I thought were market or below market type stuff that either I want to hang on to or I think I can just take to another platform right away and sell. So
Yeah.
I'm just that horrible flipper, just RBing the markets.
One thing that was actually interesting to me was thinking this auction was the first time I ever heard you overestimate a card. And that was that Tom Brady shield that was running. And I mentioned the number like 25 to 30K is what I thought. And you're like, that's cheap, right? You thought I was thinking that was cheap, or my estimate was cheap. And it ended up going for 20 and a half.
Yeah, it was just under 20 before buyer's premium. That one surprised me. I'll say I am no expert at all on Tom Brady game used or shields. My inclination is to think that there might be a story behind that card. And when I say story, not a good one.
Yeah.
So it could be that high-end Brady collectors know that there's something up with this card. It's been altered, whatever. But I don't know that. Again, maybe it was just a steal that somebody got. But I had seen some Brady Shield sales over the last month or so, I think on Golden and at PWCC, and they were all 30 plus. This one I thought looked pretty cool. So it's kind of surprising to me that it sold so low.
It's hard with like these big auction houses. Their strategy of if you don't get a bid in before the buzzer, you're basically locked out of that item. So you can see, you might think like, oh, this card's going to go way over what I think it's worth. But if you're willing to even pay anything before it hits that post 30 minutes, right, of after it closes, that if you don't have skin in the game even for that, then yeah, maybe you're out. But that's when you can have the opportunity to actually land an item at a fairly cheap price, because the minimum bids start getting very high in between in order for someone else to place a bid, and all of a sudden, because of that, the ranges make someone uncomfortable.
Yep. Yeah, it's you got to be prepared for sure, and that's where I try to look at this stuff in the week lead up to it, so I'm not sitting there the night of trying to come up with a strategy of what cards I'm interested in. I'm prepping that stuff ahead of time, putting it in a spreadsheet, figuring out what I think it's worth, kind of like what I'm comfortable paying, and then like you're saying in those stages where say over $1,000 the increments change to $100, or over 5,000 it goes to 500, whatever. I'm making it up, and it's different depending on the site. You need to know those things ahead of time if you think it's going to be in those ranges, because you could be really hurting yourself if you're buying right up against that range and then somebody comes over the top of you and then you realize, oh no, now my next increment is so much higher, and that's pushing me out of the price that I'm comfortable paying. So a tip for those people looking to bid on more stuff at these auction houses, which kind of a good segue into our long discussion today, just because so many auction houses also function as vaults. But we just want to talk about the proliferation and popularity of different vaulting services in the hobby. So if anybody is unfamiliar, there are a number of services now where you can send your cards to a secure, physically climate controlled storage facility where they take custody of your cards. They store them, vault them, they take scans of them. And then a lot of them have places where you can either sell them, whether it's through auction or a fixed marketplace. But you now are in control of your card via just their website. So you can put it for sale, you can look at the scans, but you no longer can just go into your Pelican case or your vault in your house, wherever you keep your cards, and pull it out. So really the explosion of this, I feel like, started kind of last year, and it's continued this year. And I just want to call out kind of the main players. So you have PWCC, who's located in Oregon. You have Alt, which we talked about earlier. Their vault is located in Delaware. You have Golden, which they are under the umbrella of Collectors, who also owns PSA. They have a vault also in Delaware. And then you have the new eBay vault, which I actually don't know where their vault is located. Could be multiple locations as far as I know, but those are kind of the main players for now. And you do get a lot of benefits of not having to care for the storage, your insurance on your house if you're starting to store these high-end items, climate control. And you also get the benefit of, if you buy a card and you get it sent to your vault, they're all located in states where you don't have to pay sales tax. So you're saving some money there, especially on these higher end cards. Joel, do you want to kick us off talking about just kind of your thoughts on why there's been this growth? And then if you've used any, or if you've thought about using any, what are those, and what have you kind of taken away in your experience?
Yeah, I think the growth of the use of these vaults is mainly because of the growth in the value of cards at this point, justifying the need to get these things off the site as much as possible, or at least for people to feel comfortable. I've been having and hawing the past few years over using a vault, and so I had a rep with PWCC a while back that I talked to probably since 2019 to start maybe moving towards, was it either probably 2020, towards the vault. And I ultimately decided there was some stuff with PWCC. There's been, whether it be the trimming scandal or the shilling scandal or the what was the next scandal? What scandal am I missing?
Those are some pretty good ones.
The FBI investigation.
I think that's related to trimming, but yeah.
Yeah, then getting kicked off eBay. That it just kind of delayed me wanting to use them. But ultimately, this past national, I gave a good number of items over to PWCC for the first time ever to store in the PWCC vault. And it's funny, they had all these controversies, but I still chose them. So the question would be, why would you choose a company that's gone through so many different controversies? And I'll tell you this, ultimately they have shown that they are used by many of the top collectors in the hobby as a storage place. So I feel comfortable because of kind of street cred that they've built up, along with they've developed their own auction platform. So they were willing to take in all my cards with zero cost to me, outside of, I think in some cases they might charge you like a small, if it's a raw card, there's a fee for them to store it and price it and curate it. And they actually didn't even charge me for that, for this initial load. And I have a rep that I work with now, so I feel comfortable because of relationship. You feel like you're talking to someone that understands cards, and it made me feel comfortable that they appreciate what these things are. And with that, there's some advantages with me using the PWCC Vault. First of all, as Matt mentioned, there's high-res scans of all those cards. I can list them up for fixed price in the PWCC listings on their site. But I can tell you this, I've never gotten like a great offer on any card since I've had it in there. They're all like a little bit lower than I'd want, then I counter, and then you hear nothing back. So far, no success on selling anything per se, but they're there and I can sell them. Also, a big thing is your cards are in a place where if you want to do a trade with someone else or move it, you can move it to someone else's port. And especially with high value items, it's nice to have that peace of mind that your cards are not going through the mail system, period.
Yeah.
And so having them there, having them fully insured, knowing that they're willing to insure it for whatever I want, and that cost is not on me, and they're willing, as long as they'll insure it for that. That's a beautiful thing to know that if anything were to happen, that's value locked in.
Yep.
Along with that, another advantage is that you can actually, if I ever wanted to, I could use those cards and their curated values to develop an assessment that would allow them to give me a loan or something based on the value of those cards. I've yet to pursue that piece, but it's kind of nice to have if I ever do want to go that route, knowing that if I build up my inventory there, they now have funds to potentially give me funds to do something else with.
And this is an area I have become particularly interested in, just more curious over the last couple of months. PWCC actually announced a new line of financing they are going to use for this particular piece of their business to provide liquidity to people with cards in their vault. Alt, they also have a similar type product. I have no idea what the terms are between the two of how you can structure them, but I'm just very interested more as like from an investigative journalist standpoint. I want somebody to really get into the nitty gritty on this stuff, because when you talk about cards and loans, that's something that I feel a little iffy about. And I have a lot of questions about how they're valuing it, when they're actually marking these to market, how are they giving you a margin call when when your collateral no longer is enough? Like how does this all work? And I think that's something that somebody should be covering. Maybe it's me, I don't know, but
I mean, I think there's a lot of room for some research there, because this is so new, especially this. I think PWCC, they were groundbreaking. They've offered this loan aspect for quite a while now, right?
Yeah,
way far ahead of the curve on this, and I hand it to them for being such innovators.
This is a good commercial for PWCC, Joel.
I'm not trying to be, but I think that they were the innovators.
Chill.
That doesn't mean that they're the best. I don't know if they're the best at it.
Yeah.
Right. Because I mean, invested card, all of a sudden he has his card fi, but he says that's not a loan. That is what's this term for it?
It's a loan.
It's a loan. So they there's another vault. He puts the card in his bank vault there.
Yep.
When you give it to him.
Yeah. No, that's all good stuff. Like I do think the big pros are the things you've covered of ease of transacting, where you don't have to be involved. The insurance is taken care of. The high risk scans for certain places, the liquidity it can provide via loans, the liquidity it can provide being able to sell your cards, whether it's on PWC's fixed price marketplace or Alt's fixed price marketplace. They both have auction formats. So I do think those are all the pros. I do think it's important to talk about the cons. Cons naturally just being you don't have your cards. And I think a lot of people don't feel comfortable not having their cards, and you do feel like you're missing something if you'd had a close relationship with your cards. You've had them for a while. It's just kind of awkward to not have them in your house. I do think one aspect and one big reason why the whole vaulting thing has become so popular is because you feel now locked into an ecosystem that can be problematic. So if it's feels like, once all your cards are in one spot, it's difficult to kind of like move them around or list cross platform. And I do know Alt is doing some things to allow you to have the cards at Alt listed on their fixed price marketplace, but also have it dual listed to eBay. So that's kind of an interesting thing. And clearly a little bit of a jab at PWCC, since PWCC got kicked off of eBay. So that is a pretty big competitive advantage there for Alt.
And that is a major downside. That's a major downside to PWCC. It's the fact that your cards you have to think through, am I comfortable with this card only selling on the PWCC platform?
Yep.
Because if your card is, and what is that range in your mind? If that card is, say, below a few thousand, do you feel comfortable like not having eBay as an option when eBay moves cards so well that are below in that few thousand range or less, right?
Yep. And kind of like you were saying, you haven't gotten a ton of good offers on cards on PWCC, and in my experience, because I generally am playing more in a lower dollar type space. If I've ever listed things fixed price on PWCC, I usually don't even get any offers. So what I end up doing is batching up a bunch of cards, waiting for me to accumulate things. I'll send them home. If I want to sell them right away, I put them on eBay, and on eBay, they, I'm getting offers very quickly. So I think you're right. eBay is still the leader, and it is the place that most people go to when you think of, oh, I'm interested in X player's card. I don't go to PWCC. I go to Alt, or I'm sorry, I go to eBay. I don't go to Alt. I don't go to Golden. Um, so I think that's a big advantage for eBay. That said, I do want to talk about the eBay Vault. I have not met one person that has used the eBay Vault yet, and I don't know if they've just haven't been good at marketing it. But you would think that they have this big advantage being the largest platform, but it just hasn't stuck. And I did a little bit of digging into it today. If you buy a card on eBay, it can go to their vault directly through your account, and there's no intake charge or anything. There's also no selling fees that are like in addition to the normal eBay fees for now. So it seems like could be something that changes. But one thing that caught my eye is they have withdrawal fees, which is normal for all of these vaults to have some sort of withdrawal fees. But their withdrawal fees for anything over $1,000 is $50 minimum plus the insurance. So that's a 5% withdrawal on top of whatever the insured shipping is. And if they're really trying to get their foot into this space because they are late to the party, they need to be more competitive in just their overall fee structure. And B, I think this goes more broadly of why everybody wants to have their own vault right now. It's all about discouraging people from actually taking cards out of the vaults. And that's something that I don't like, because to me, it is just trying to trap people into their ecosystem, whoever that is, whether that's Alt, eBay, collectors, PWCC. It's trying to trap you into the ecosystem, and it's just trying to make money every time something moves in the ecosystem. So they can have the same card just going back and forth between people. Maybe over the course of a year, a card gets moved 3 times. They just get those transaction fees every time, and they've kept everybody in their ecosystem. So to me, that's kind of like the value proposition for those businesses, is they can trap people in their ecosystem, suck them in, and then they can just make money repeatedly every time that card gets transacted. And it makes sense. Sure. But right now, I don't know. The eBay thing is bizarre to me. I think they're not really taking off from what I can see.
Maybe they're not ready. They must have pulled it back or something, because I know of many people that were interested to learn more because of the fact that I think where many people want to sell is eBay still. And if there's a safer way to do that, and if it was backed, or there was some assurances that were given to your cards that were sold on eBay, I think it would have a major uptick on people wanting to go back to selling on eBay, at least for lower end range, maybe to mid range.
Yeah, but it just seems like they haven't really gotten that interest. And I don't know about you, but their marketing says anything that is sold on eBay that's in the eBay vault should have a special tag. So you know how you see like tags for like top rated seller? It should say on the listing that it's a vault listing. I haven't noticed one.
I haven't seen one.
So very odd. We have no idea how many.
Great for if we do get any feedback. If you want to give us some feedback on what you've seen.
Yeah.
From 11 people.
Yeah. And I'd love to hear people that have actually stored cards there. But as a comparison, you can search the fixed marketplaces of PWCC and Alt to see their number of listed items. And like PWCC, when I had checked before we started recording, they have like 65,000 items that are listed for sale in their fixed price marketplace right now. Alt has 14,000. So that's a big difference. And I think it does show that PWCC was kind of the first mover here, and they have that first mover advantage. So again, will be interesting to see if some of these places kind of like ditch the vault idea or if they just never take off, and if one becomes the preferred winner, which we didn't even mention golden, aka collectors. I actually tried to look to see if you can look at fixed price listings in their vault, and I either couldn't figure it out or they don't show it. So
No, no, it seems fairly hidden. You know what? We forgot about one of the OG vaults of all time. Can you think what it is?
ComC, baby.
ComC.
Yeah,
30
ComC's a
million
vault.
cards. 30 million cards.
You know what? You're right. That I think about it in a different context, but they are tried and true, and they're killing it. So props
and
to
they
ComC.
go across. You can sell on ComC and on eBay through them.
You can.
You used to be able to sell on Amazon. They used to have a partnership with Amazon where your cards would be listed on Amazon.
I love ComC. I was just making fun of you for your PWCC commercial. I'll do a ComC commercial whenever they want.
They're amazing.
Yeah, they're great. Solid. But yeah, I can't find really like any listings as it relates to golden. So again, I don't know if they even have a fixed price marketplace. And for people that are very into the hobby, like you and I are, for us not to just like know these answers or know that that's a place that we can go search for cards easily, that's a problem. It's a problem if it's a major product that you're trying to promote and grow.
For sure.
Any other kind of thoughts you have about any particular vaults or just kind of the idea of vaulting? And
I was I've been interested by the idea of vaulting for a long time just because of the insurance aspect. I think ultimately what drew me to PWCC was because of the fact that I knew people that use it. It seems like a lot of people are in there that I know, and made me feel like, okay, if I'm going to be part of an ecosystem, it seems like you have the high end selling option there too. I feel like the fees, I don't know how I feel about this whole 20% buyer's premium thing. I feel like the whole 20% buyer premium when you sell on these platforms just adds these barriers. And I know that you can calculate it in, but I wonder how many people, like I think of me years ago before I was familiar or comfortable with these other platforms and these additional fees, it would keep me out of even trying because of the fact that I am uncomfortable with this random percentage. Not random, but like the 20% of the tax and this on top.
It's not very transparent. Yeah. I'm routinely surprised when I get an auction house invoice at what the actual price is. And that was even worse before I knew about, a reseller certificate and things like that.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I ever bought something from Heritage, I was buying a PC card, a Jackie Robinson, 50 Bowman, super excited. I get the invoice. I was like, that's not what I've agreed to.
Yeah. No, it can hit you like a hammer on the head.
Yeah. Well, and I will argue. So that's kind of, and again, this isn't a commercial for Alt, but that's kind of what Alt was trying to do and be innovative is they don't have any of that buyer's premium. Mm-hmm. So when you're buying something through their liquid auctions or their fixed price, you're paying what it says. And they, from their marketing, and maybe this is really their philosophy, that's a big reason why what they're trying to disrupt, because they think this industry can't be taken seriously as having investable assets if you just are lopping on 20% premiums, because investors in other asset classes, they don't deal with that, and it's really hard to explain to somebody why it exists. Why it exists is just, well, that's just how it always is. That's how high-end auction houses work. And good ideas usually come out of questioning these antiquated norms, and I do salute them for that, despite me hating on them earlier in the episode. And
yeah, but apparently when you question their fixed price fees, it instantly goes away.
Yeah, so apparently you can just bully Alt into doing whatever you want. But, that's actually not the case. I've had some not so great customer service type issues with them, but I have used their platform. I've also used PWCC pretty extensively, so they have their pros and cons, and I will not promote either. I'll just say that you should do your own research and maybe try both out and see which one you like if you want to open yourself up to vaulting or just, buying from these places as well.
Yeah. But I think regardless, if you have lower end cards, ComC is always a great place to go.
ComC is awesome. Or even,
or mid.
People have different, mid-end. People have different definitions of mid-end. That's actually a good discussion one day.
There's really no middle end, so.
that's true. That's true. All right, that's enough for that. If you have any feedback on any of those vaults, or you just want to tell us that we're wrong about something, we enjoy corrections. Joel, what's going on for the rest of the week? Anything you're looking forward to, card-wise, hobby-wise?
I don't think there's any shows I know this coming weekend that I can call out, per se.
No, it's going to be October next weekend.
Yeah, I just would really love to make it out to a Dallas show. I did hear from just footage I watched. I don't want to say here. From what I saw, it seemed like Dallas was even slow.
Yeah.
This past one, right? So it could be that time of year. Maybe we're pushing these shows too often. I mean, as we mentioned earlier, Ludex has been kind of slowed down. And maybe it's a bi-monthly show. Maybe it's not necessarily that. Maybe it's a combination of two things. Maybe, yes, there's some slowness to people wanting to come and to these events, but also maybe we decrease the urgency to attend an event when it's every month because we're like, oh, I'll catch the next one.
Yeah, I very much agree with that. I think we have too many shows.
Yeah. So nothing this coming weekend. I would love to go out to a good Dallas show though. I mean, I'm
down. I'm down if you want to go. I don't know. I don't know what month. So maybe we can go and we can report on the ground and then tell people what we think. And yeah, I've never been, so
I want to get a full sense of that room and like all the side rooms and the whole thing. I want to do the trade night. I just want to experience it all. Yeah. And I bet there's tons of people like us that have just been watching on the sidelines of these big shows. Because guess what? When we're at these shows, the Ludex show, there's another show that was mentioned in the Wisconsin area, or Kenosha. Yeah, right? No, not Kenosha. Anyway, these shows are mentioning that we think we can be the next Dallas show. And what does that mean? It means that Dallas has really put on something.
Yeah.
And really put themselves on the map the past couple of years.
I think they're the best regional show. I think a lot of people would have said it was the Chicago Sports Spectacular, but I think Dallas is a special place now. And
Chicago did have it up until that show got canceled during peak COVID or right in the start.
March 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That show, I think, all of a sudden the switch.
Yep.
Then Texas
no rules. No rules down there, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have anything on the docket really for this week either. No shows, listing cards. There's no products coming out that I'm interested in. I wouldn't buy them anyway because they're all too expensive. So yeah, it's just going to be kind of doing my normal thing and seeing if I'm going to kind of not completely halt my buying, but I think I'm going to slow down even more, except for like a lot of these low end lots and stuff. I'm always looking for that stuff, but it's just an environment where I don't feel pressed to buy anything of any sort of significant value. So I'm just going to keep chugging along. See where the hobby is next month.
One question to kind of ask you on the way out right now, the Giants Cowboys tied 13-13, 9 minutes in the third. Does Danny Dimes go 3-0?
Maybe, but it's just another snooze fest of a primetime game after last night and Thursday.
Yeah. All right, fine.
Okay. Good talking to you, Joel. For anybody listening, please give us a like and subscribe on YouTube. Make sure you check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. We're probably there. Please give us a review. Any sort of engagement would be useful as well. And we're going to try to promote this thing a little bit more to get a little bit more engagement so we can get the motivation to keep going. So any comments, greatly appreciated, even if it is that we suck. Everybody have a good night. Talk to you later.